Hello, so glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Thursday. A river of water overflows streets and highways in British Columbia.
All of a sudden, it went crazy.
The rising danger and the rush to escape.
You can get through, you can get through, you can get through.
The fix is in for the CRA, but will it make a difference if you're still on hold?
Most likely going to change the world tremendously.
Plus, revealing Time Magazine's All Too Real Person of the Year.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A major flood emergency in southern British Columbia with torrential downpours, falling rocks, and the real risk of avalanche. Not a pretty picture for communities in the Fraser Valley and places like Abbotsford. Some major highways between the Lower Mainland and the interior are closed, with people told to leave their homes for safety. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson is on the states of emergency, the evacuation, and what's next. Andrew.
Sandy, this isn't a lake or river next to me. This is a farmer's field, now flooded. And on this side, a business taking on water in Abbotsford, BC, after water came rushing over the U.S. border. It took only minutes for this road to be overtaken by water surging over the U.S. border into Abbotsford.
Everything was fine until about an hour ago, and then all of a sudden it went crazy.
The farm on the other side was next, then the business across the street, which quickly rushed to get people and equipment out.
We're trying to get our cars out so we don't lose our cars. It's ugly.
Police began going door to door, asking people to pack up and get ready to go.
Nature is powerful and it will do whatever it wants, so the best we can do is hope.
Hundreds of properties nearby were already under an evacuation order. Parts of the region were hammered by up to 140 millimeters of rain yesterday. That led to flooding as well as rock slides. At one point, 4 different highways were closed, cutting off the Lower Mainland and Metro Vancouver from the BC interior. The city of Abbotsford declared a local state of emergency overnight, and the regional district has done the same. For many, this is all far too familiar. Catastrophic flooding 4 years ago, the most costly disaster in BC history, led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of farm animals. It's still fresh.
Shades of 2021 for sure. I think everyone's pretty nervous.
People here tell me they are cautiously optimistic at this point. The flooding will not equal the 2021 disaster, but just how much damage will be done remains to be seen. Sandy?
Okay, Andrew, thank you. Now, the cause of this system is something called an atmospheric river. What exactly is it, and how does it affect the weather? We asked CTV, your morning meteorologist, Kelsey McEwen, to explain it to us. Kelsey.
Sandy, the question, what is an atmospheric river, is one I get a lot as a meteorologist, and we see these developing in particularly La Nina years, where the temperature of the sea surface off the west coast of South America, of the Pacific there, tends to drive weather systems toward our west coast. So this atmospheric river, similar to an actual river on land, it is this large, narrow, continuous band of moisture, not on the ground, this up in the sky. But it's not just about that moisture, it's also about the topography of the region where this hits, because that mountainous area right along the coastline is forcing all of that air upwards. As it does, the temperature drops, that prompts the moisture to condense its way out, and it precipitates back down. And that is why we see the very heavy rainfall along the coastline. Now, through the weekend, this band will shift its way northward through Friday into early Saturday, but by late Saturday, the heaviest rainfall could shift back down towards Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland. Sandy, back to you.
Thank you for this, Kelsey. A big break in a cold case. Toronto police say they have identified the serial killer responsible for murdering 3 women in the 1980s and 1990s.
On December the 3rd, 2025, the Centre of Forensic Sciences identified a man named Kenneth Smith as the offender in the murders of 3 women.
Smith died in Windsor in 2019. Police used investigative genetic genealogy to link him to DNA collected from the murders of Christine Prince, Claire Sampson, and Garcelyn Greenedge. There appears to be no connection between the women. Now, the CRA, the government body that collects your taxes, has been getting lots of complaints from Canadians frustrated over call wait times, delays, not being able to get through to an agent who often gets the answer wrong. The agency was given 100 days to fix the problem. CTV's Abigail Beeman now on the results of the review and what improvements the public can expect when they call. Abigail.
Sandy, the CRA says it's answering more of your phone calls, but not all of them, and giving Canadians more digital options so they don't have to phone at all.
It's very scary when you think that you might lose all your teeth.
Zuli's husband is having a serious dental emergency. She says trying to reach the CRA for help from the Canadian Dental Care Plan has been a nightmare.
It's been quite an ordeal. It's been 2 weeks of tears.
We're very proud of the work that our teams have managed to accomplish.
After a 100-day service improvement plan was mandated by ministers in the face of massive delays, the CRA is proud the number of calls answered went from just 35% to hit its goal of more than 70%.
We will never be in a position to answer 100% of the phone calls that we receive at the agency.
Saying at 30 million calls a year, 300,000 a day in tax time, it's not sustainable.
That is actually a very normal operational kind of balance, so to speak, when it comes to contact center operations that are being operated in a very fiscally responsible and somewhat restrained way.
In the face of government-wide cuts, some CRA employees don't even know if their jobs are safe. A boost to 4,500 call center employees at tax time is temporary.
We're not in a position to tell you right now, that whether there are cuts planned and when they might be.
They are investing where we have massive problems.
The union head believes call center staff are safe from cuts for now.
The improvement also stems from the fact that we're at the low season. We're not in a tax season. So we need a lot more help. So it's a positive point, but at the same time, it's a Band-Aid solution.
It's a step forward. I think one of the issues we had is that we had seen 100 days ago that the level of services was not meeting the expectation of Canadians.
As one example of increased online options to cut down on phone calls, Canadians who are locked out of their CRA account can now access them digitally, diverting as many as 300,000 calls a year. The union says the real test will be what happens on day 101 after the plan and beyond. Sandy?
Okay, CTV's Abigail Beeman. So if you are a renter and paying more these days, you're not alone. The cost of a two-bedroom apartment is up this year by about 5%. But a new report also shows that vacancies are up, with landlords competing for tenants. If that's the case, why do rents keep going up? We asked CTV's Heather Wright to dig into the data and speak to some renters. Hey, Heather.
Well, Sandy, there are more rental units available right across the country, but that hasn't necessarily helped with the cost of rent yet.
Canadians spend between 35% and 50% of their income on housing and utilities. And for many, making rent isn't easy.
The 15th of the month is just a few days away, and I'm in a difficult spot right now.
Ali Jaffrey has a job, a child, and a tight-knit community in downtown Toronto, but he says the cost of living is squeezing him.
We want to make a life here, but we're doing all the right things, but we're still falling behind. And it's not a sustainable situation.
Today, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation released its annual rental market report, which shows that despite an increase in purpose-built rentals and an increase in the vacancy rate, there has not been a corresponding drop in the average price of rent. The average rent for a two-bedroom purpose-built rental unit was $1,550 a month, an increase of 5.1%, while the average rent for a two-bedroom condo was $2,300.
The affordability challenges are still very present. That has not gone away.
But the CMHC says there are early signs things are improving. Many landlords are now offering incentives like a month of free rent or internet to entice renters. And policies from all three levels of government appear to be working, though experts caution it's early.
We're seeing a lot of programs that have been put in place, different products to help developers, push those projects out the door.
The CMHC says there are currently 190,000 rental units under construction, slated to be completed in the next year or so. They say that will keep the vacancy rate high and likely help with the cost of rent. Sandy.
CTV's Heather Wright. Now, on the matter of housing for First Nations living on reserves, there's been a landmark federal court ruling that has major implications. Today, Manitoba chiefs responded to the decision. And CTV's Alex Carpa was at the press conference. So, Alex, what did they have to say about it?
Sandy, some Manitoba chiefs reacted to this historic decision today after the federal court confirmed for the first time that the federal government has a responsibility to provide proper housing on First Nations communities. This class action lawsuit was brought forward back in May 2023 by 2 First Nations in Manitoba and Ontario, representing more than 100 other communities across the country. They are seeking $5 billion in damages. Justice Paul Favel's decision came after reviewing thousands of pages of evidence detailing unsafe, overcrowded, and deteriorating homes, many with mold, pest infestations, and no running water or heat. The court also heard how these conditions are harming children, affecting their health, sleep, and hygiene. The ruling says Canada must either provide the resources for proper housing or support First Nations in building the capacity to provide it themselves. Here's what the Indigenous leaders in the province had to say.
The court made it clear that Canada cannot maintain the status quo. It must either provide us with the resources that we need to secure adequate housing, or it must restore us to the position we were in before the Crown interfered.
The Government of Canada has until the beginning of January to appeal the case. If they don't, this case will move to a second stage where discussions of any breaches or potential remedies would take place. Sandy.
CTV's Alex Carpa. Family doctors in Quebec have reached an agreement in principle with the province to delay and amend the controversial Bill 2 just weeks before it was to be implemented. Now, the two sides have been quarreling over the bill, which in part connects compensation to the number of patients seen. Some doctors threatened to close clinics and leave the province over the proposed changes. Details of the agreement have not been released, but Quebec's health minister says implementation is delayed until February. Well, as of tonight, members of Parliament are on holiday and the House won't be back until January 26th next year. It means any outstanding business is on hold. The Liberals insist it was a productive fall, but the opposition says little has passed and more collaboration is needed to avoid another election. Let's bring in CTV's Rachel Aiello. And Rachel, what didn't the House get to before the break?
Hey, Sandy. Well, let's start with what did pass, because that list is much shorter. In terms of what passed the House of Commons, 3 pieces of legislation, one on citizenship, one on affordability, and one on border security. Now, just one of those pieces of legislation, the one on citizenship, has actually cleared the Senate as well, receiving royal assent. Now, in terms of what has been left behind, several key government pieces of legislation, including crime bills, the one on bail reform, for example, and I think most integrally here, Sandy, is the Budget Implementation Act. So everything that the federal Liberals promised in their 2025 budget that requires legislation to become law, that has been held up until they come back next year. And, you know, I've been on the Hill now over a decade, and this is kind of a routine thing that happens every time one of these early adjournments come. Both sides, Liberals and Conservatives, are arguing over who's to blame for the obstruction, and we definitely heard more of that today. Take a listen.
This is a minority parliament. And in that scenario, the opposition parties have the ability to hold up government legislation. Responsible opposition parties do that in a responsible way, to offer alternatives and present reasoned arguments. But for the last 3 months, the Conservatives have adopted and executed a clear political strategy that is self-serving and selfish.
We've absolutely proposed a path forward. It's Liberals who are engaged in self-obstruction of their own legislation.
Okay, based on what you were telling us then, Rachel, what are the priorities, the major priorities for the new year?
Yeah, well, certainly getting that budget implementation bill passed is going to be a big one. But I think broader, Sandy, the conversation that's been up on the Hill here over the last few days is having the Liberals realize that they have a minority government and they do need to work more with other parties. Specifically, NDP interim leader Don Davies made a pitch that the Liberals should reconsider offering the NDP official party status, changing the Parliament of Canada Act to make sure that they have all the perks that come with that title, because in their mind, clearly the Liberals need some help getting their legislative agenda moved through. And if it comes to progressive issues, the NDP, Sandy, are saying they'd be willing to help. But I think broad picture, it's going to be trying to pass more bills, frankly, come the spring, because that trade negotiation is going to be going on. There's going to be a lot of other external factors adding to the pressure here on Parliament Hill.
All right. As always, thank you so much, Rachel. CTV's Rachel Ayello in Ottawa. Coming up after the break, Olympic-sized safety concerns.
I don't know what's going on. Even if it's not safe, I still want to play.
The potential issues that go beyond the surface. 8 weeks until the 2026 Winter Games in Milano Cortina, and already controversy. The NHL Deputy Commissioner is saying he's disappointed that the rinks are smaller than NHL regulation size and won't be ready until the new year. And some players say they won't show up if the ice isn't safe. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin on the construction delays and the complaints already being voiced. Geneviève.
Well, Sandy, the Olympics are just 57 days away, and controversy over this much ice and venue construction has fans talking. The main hockey venue for Milano Cortina is still a work in progress, and the ice surface is at the center of controversy over size and safety.
So now it's all about just making sure we have ice that is safe.
Or else the long-awaited return of NHL players to the Olympics will have to wait, says the league. Their last appearance was in Sochi 2014. Frictions emerged after word spread the ice at two brand-new venues doesn't quite measure up to NHL rinks. The ice surface in Milan is shorter and a little wider, measuring 60 by 26 meters. NHL size is 60.96 by 25.9. It's also even smaller than the old international-sized rink used in past games in Europe. The Chief Games Operations Officer, Andrea Francisi, pointed out the Milan rinks are the same dimensions as the ones used at the Beijing Games in 2022. The players from the NHL, though, weren't there.
I mean, not only am I not fast, so it works into my game.
NHL players and brothers Brady and Matthew Tkachuk addressed the controversy on their Wingmen podcast.
I want to go in there no matter what. I would play on the Atlantic Ocean. I'll play on a lake. It doesn't matter.
Now, the league says it has moved past the rink size issue and that it has received some encouraging signs in recent days about construction. Still, it's down to the wire.
And the fact that the building at this point still isn't completed is, as I said, and I won't use any other adjectives, is disappointing.
The test event for the ice has been moved back to January to see whether, despite its size, the rink measures up to NHL standards. Sandy.
Geneviève Beauchemin, thanks, Jen. A Canadian athlete is making waves on the international stage, not just for her accomplishments in the sport of biathlon, but for her courage to help make the sport more inclusive. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has that story.
This is a fantastic ski from Shiloh Russo.
Whenever Shiloh Russo puts on her Team Canada gear,
look at the lead that she has.
A wave of immense pride sweeps over her.
It becomes more than just about you. I feel like I'm representing my hometown and all the people who have supported me along the way.
This year, Russo came up with a way to share that love as she races for a spot on the Olympic team. A custom-made pistol grip with a rainbow flag to support the LGBTQ community.
I wanted to not only feel empowered myself, but bring visibility to the world stage and have others feel seen and feel safe to express who they are as well.
But initially, that sense of safety was violated. During a routine equipment check last weekend, race organizers at a World Cup event told her the flag went against their ad policy on political statements.
They said, in order to race, you need to cover up this symbol.
Biathlon Canada says Russo almost missed the race.
Didn't seem like this is a political statement at all. It's an expression of Shiloh's identity, and it seemed like an overreach by the local officials.
Biathlon Canada and Russo asked for a review. In the end, the International Biathlon Union conceded their rules were unclear, that the rainbow flag is not a political statement and can be displayed on gear in all future races.
It definitely took me by surprise and was quite upsetting, especially the day before the race, but my coaches and team had my back and we made positive change happen.
The International Biathlon Union says it's hoping to recraft its policies. As for Russo, she says this experience has made her feel empowered and proud of who she is. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
When we come back, Time magazine unveils its person, or in this case, persons of the year.
In a year like this year, AI was at the center of almost every single conversation. I feel like you couldn't turn on the news, open the newspaper, scroll through your feed, text a friend, and not hear about both this technology and how it was changing and growing, but also the people behind it who are driving it.
All right, that is Time magazine's deputy editor explaining the decision to name the architects of AI as the person of the year, saying 2025 is when artificial intelligence roared into view. The magazine will have two covers, one with the letters A and I under construction. The second features 8 tech titans on a beam, like the famous 1930s photograph called Lunch Atop a Skyscraper. The group includes CEOs of companies like OpenAI, Meta, Tesla, Anthropic, and NVIDIA. Don't fall. After the break, a real-life cliffhanger off the back of a plane. How did this thrill seeker survive? Ooh. Jumping out of a plane with a parachute is already an activity for thrill seekers, but there was an extra adrenaline rush in Australia when a skydiver survived a heart-stopping incident. Take a look. The skydiver, thousands of meters in the air, was pulled out of the plane when the reserve chute opened by accident, leaving them caught dangling in the air on the wing of the plane. Now, in slow motion, you can see how the skydiver was flung backward, knocking another jumper with a parachute into free fall. Now, what happens next is partly why Australian authorities released this video.
Although not mandatory at the time of the accident, the parachutists had a hook knife attached to their chest strap.
The video then shows a skydiver using that hook knife to tear through the parachute lines, cutting enough to get free from the plane, and once clear, safely deploying the other parachute.
This investigation is also a reminder for pilots conducting parachute operations of the importance of wearing an emergency parachute.
And here's how it appears to have happened. A handle got snagged on the wing flap of the plane, activating the reserve chute. The plane's tail was also damaged by the incident, although, and this is wonderful news, of course, the pilot managed to land it safely. Thank you for sharing your time with us this Thursday. You can also catch us streaming live on Crave. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Bye for now. Be well.